In this 5-part video series, I'm going to be covering what I think are the most important mental life hacks to help you think more clearly, be more objective, eliminate those mental barriers, and make better decisions to improve your life. Life hack number 2, eliminating indecision. I'm James Grage, and welcome to The Resistance. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a really tough decision to make that you just seem to have a hard time pulling the trigger on? Man, I know I've been there, and for all sorts of reasons. Sometimes it's because all our options just seem to suck, and sometimes it's the exact opposite. We actually have a few good options, we're just not sure which one to choose. And sometimes you're just afraid to make that decision because you're afraid of the stress or the chaos that goes along with it. But no matter what the reason, sometimes it feels easier to just do nothing and tell ourselves that it'll work itself out. But it rarely does. So here's a golden rule that I want to share with you that I learned early on, and that's that there's 3 basic types of decisions: the right decision, the wrong decision, and the decision by default. So let's dive into these. Let's talk about the first kind of decision. That's the right one. This is where you analyze the situation, you made a decision, you took action, and everything turned out awesome. These feel great. It boosts your confidence because it was your decision, you own it, and you get to take credit for it. But if only they always worked out that way. And this brings us to our second kind of decision. They start off the same way. You analyze, you decide, you act, but instead of everything turning out awesome, everything turns out terrible. Now, most people would call this a defeat, but here's the thing. If you own that decision, if you take responsibility for that decision, you can learn from it, you can grow from it. It makes us stronger, it makes us wiser, and it propels us forward in our life. But conversely, if you blame other people or you blame circumstance, then there's a good chance you're gonna miss out on those important learning lessons, and this is when it becomes a mistake. And that brings us to our third kind of decision, the decision by default, meaning you decided to just let things play out. Now, this can play out one of 2 ways. It can either play out well or it can play out poorly. But even if it plays out well, you're not going to benefit from that confidence boost that we talked about because it's not your decision. Now, on the other side, if it plays out poorly, you're not going to be able to extract those learning lessons that we talked about, and ultimately, you're going to end up a victim of circumstance. So what's the takeaway? Well, it's simple. Own your decisions and own the outcomes. Don't be afraid to be decisive, don't be afraid to make mistakes, and don't be afraid to pull that trigger. That's it for this second video in this installment. Now, if you have a hard time letting your emotions rule your decisions, then make sure you check out the next video in this series, which is life hack number 3, don't let your emotions rule you. Now, my mission is to share everything that I've learned that's helped me find success through every bad situation. I'm James Grage, and this is The Resistance. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, and to share this with a friend who might be in need. And I'll see you next video.